What I've learned when it comes to that kind of fear, and the fear we're talking about, is fear of a person's wrath. It's fear of them being able to enact that wrath on you, and you knowing there's a level of a high chance and probability that their wrath is going to succeed. Like, you look at God, for instance. God has upped his wrath numerous times. Whatever scriptures we're looking at, he'll tell the people, like, look, this is the law of the land. Respect each other, right? In some cases, respect me. I'm the creator. I'm giving you all the OG story, where we come from, right? Listen to this messenger right here. Listen to the messenger and their family. Chill out with what you're doing over here. It's not cool. It's not only not cool, but it's causing the land strife, right? And the people of the land don't listen. Time and time, it's literally the same story over and over again through each messenger's thing. They don't listen. And then God send down a wrath. Sometimes he send it down in micro doses. Sometimes just one big, asteroid hitting the comet of, dinosaurs type deal, right? We can respect our parents and still fear them at the same time. I'm afraid of my father's ass whooping, and I respect him, but I'm afraid of that ass whooping. Right, my mom, I'm afraid of her shame, right? So, like, different levels of it, but I'm still afraid, and I still got respect for them, because if I don't got that fear, what's the point of the respect? Why am I respecting you?
So then is the respect real?
You have to compare it to something in order for you to know if it's real or not.
Because I challenge even the idea of the wrath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the problem with a lot of people is that we constantly equate God, and this is across a lot of different faiths, vengeance and wrathful. And if you don't really truly in your mind fear that, you do whatever the fuck you want. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
And it don't matter. Like, no matter what happened. Like, even right now, if we look at the state of the world, if somebody was a person of faith who believes that all those things are coming from a higher power, right? Increases in famine, increases in climate change, animals doing things they never done before, all these things, right? If it was fear-based, that would make somebody change, but I think it's at a point where people don't even care, because that fear, it's like, whatever. What's the worst that's gonna happen, right? Instead of, like, you know what, I respect enough that it's okay, because a lot of times what happens with our parents, with jobs, with whatever it is, once that fear runs out, it's a wrap. Like, I don't fear your ass whoopings no more. Now I really don't care, until if I don't have that backup battery of respect, right, which comes from love and trust, cool, that might stop me from wilding out or saying some extra stuff to my parents, right? Because I have that, right? Or eventually, if you truly are of faith in whatever your denomination is, you stop fearing the repercussions of not following God's path and respecting that this was the path that was laid in front of me, and I choose to do this. I'm not doing it because I'm fearful of repercussions. That's my beef with a lot of Christians, is you only behave a certain way because you're afraid to go to hell, but you really only do that when you're being perceived or seen by certain people. But when nobody looking, how you really be acting?
Do you actually have the fear of hell when nobody's looking? Yeah.
Right? Or do you really do your best to do right by all people?
Well, even
because that's really, what's being
my mom
preached.
before she had converted, and even after the conversion, she's gone. She'll wrestle with being raised Catholic, and so, like, the joke but not joke from her of, in her family and then back home, they'll sin 6 days out the week, and then on Sunday you're asking for forgiveness, but then on Monday you right back to knowingly sinning, right? And not, because I think there's a difference in terms of discernment there, where if you know that you're not just going to make mistakes, but you're going to actually make other sins, that you will have to repent for, that you will have to ask forgiveness for, right? Like making a mistake of like, oh, I forgot to turn this on. I forgot to turn this off. It's not a sin,
No.
right?
Willfully doing. I know what you mean.
I'm saying that just because, like, for those that will watch this, right, it's the same thing, like, because I'll get into this with folks when it comes to, like, well, what's really a sin and what's really a wrong and a right? And we talked about this, and it was like, to some degree, you don't need a scripture at some point to know about certain sins, certain wrongdoings on people. It happens, you see the effects of it, right? And you're either wired to where you're saying like, oh, I see that like the sad face is universal, right? If you cause that to someone, you should feel something stir inside of you that's like, oh, damn, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intent. However you say it, whatever language it's in, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, you show this thing called sorrow, a.k.a. I am sorry, right? Folks be forgetting what some of these words be short for a lot of the times, right? Like, I have sorrow. I remember I had to ask my mom had to say to me, you should be ashamed of yourself some years back. Man, that shit hit me because I had somebody tell me, like, I should have shame for something in so long. And then when your mom tells you that shit, right? It's just like, da-doom, right? But we don't even say that anymore. You should be ashamed of yourself. There are folks who are unapologetically themselves, meaning you just do whatever you do and you don't ever apologize for what you did, right? Like, that's not egotistical, right?
Well, I will say this. I think that term is misused because that
how
goes
can
back
you even
to
tell someone it's misused? That's where I'm at with it. I hear what you're saying.
That's an ego trip at that point. Because to be unapologetically yourself is not so much as I am going to go through this world causing harm left and right and be uncaring. Because that's the complete opposite of how a person usually gets to that point.
It's that they even causing harm in the first place, though.
Well, that's a whole nother story because now we're talking about people who are sociopaths.
To bring it back, and I'm gonna give a crazy hot take. We could say that's Drake and that's Logic.
Okay, now I'll okay. I'm going to tread lightly here because I am not a trained professional, and I happen to know and love a lot of trained mental health professionals and people who do this for a living. So I won't say
understood.
I am an expert.
Understood.
Right?
I appreciate the disclaimer in the preface.
Yeah. I do agree with what you're saying in terms of that both have shown they're ignoring either from a space of naivete, which I doubt, or willfully, which I believe, the impact they have on other people, the role they play in a lot of the reactions they receive from other people. And if they are not quote unquote sociopaths, right? Because like I said, I'm no expert. I can't just call somebody that.
You call them a capitalist?
Well, I think a lot of people are that.
That's not.
But I think a lot of people call themselves capitalists and they don't have no capital, and that's a whole other thing. A lot of people are just so willfully beholden to a system that really doesn't care about them that they in turn call themselves capitalists to justify their allegiance to this thing that's just going to destroy them. But in terms of these two, I think they also they learned at early ages manipulation tactics for their survival, and the ways in which they've turned to using them are extremely unhealthy, right? Because this is just something I've been dealing with as I go through my own personal therapy journey and just growing up, right? And really reevaluating myself as a person, right? Like I said, I feel like I've lived 9 lives already, and I still got a couple left, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, I know I can manipulate a room. I know I can go into a room and read the room. What's going to get me the best outcome in this room, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean I can't show my true self. I still have to be me in the space. And I feel like neither of those two who we're talking about, how they've presented themselves as artists, ever come off as genuine, true representations of themselves in a space. right? I think that Drake has struggled with this idea of I should be accepted. It's like, no, nobody actually has to like you, bro. And that's okay. Just be you. Right? And I feel like, well, I think the him that exists is a him trying to constantly contort to everyone around him instead of just being a stable, solid thing, right? He is in constant flux. And that's what I'm saying, right? And that could be who he is, but it doesn't resonate well with other people because your energy isn't real.
You know, he's a villain that wants to be accepted as a hero.
I'm not going to go into that because I'm a villain to some people, and in my mind, I am the hero.
I'm not saying it subjectively. I'm saying it objectively. When you start taking from the water cooler of capitalism, and you willfully take from that, and you drink it, and you hydrate off of it, it's a part of your workout regimen, your daily lifestyle regimen. I think when it comes to logic, he in the beginning was just like, no, y'all, like a lot of us when we got into activism at first, we got to drink some of this here. We got to know what we up against, right? And it's just like, yeah, but eventually it's the ooze from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's gonna turn you into it's gonna do what it does.
Not Toka and Razor.
Yeah, it makes you Toka and Razor, right? Or Super Shredder.
Man.
And so like then it's like, okay, yeah, we got the turtles out of that, but that happened because shit broke, got on them, and got on Splinter, and Splinter.
Yeah, serendipitous.
Yeah, not you walked right up to the shit. It's like when folks who willfully become hoes and pimps, right? And then try to.
I'm like, okay, wait. I don't know where you're going, so I gotta listen carefully.
Okay, let me use a different one.
Cause willfully hoeing and willfully pimping are two very different things. I feel like.
I mean, when you going into a situation knowing it's dangerous, not you got drag, kicking, and screaming.
Okay, wait. Let me give you my one that I always use. My analogy, right? You sign up to be a cop.
But see,
and you wait. Listen. Because this is important. You signed up to be a cop. My parents were cops, so I don't want people to think I'm being me. Oh, actually, I use firefighters. My dad was a firefighter. He signed up to be a firefighter. Mm-hmm. And a building is burning. And you have to run inside. Guess what? You can't make me feel bad that you have to run into the burning building when you signed up to be a firefighter. My normal analogy is you can't make me feel bad if you get shot when you signed up to be a cop. But I'm going to be empathetic today.
I feel that.
Because I hear what you're saying in terms of if you put yourself in a dangerous situation, you can't be surprised when danger occurs.
But see, you brought up a good caveat. There is a difference. It's hard to look at policing in the context, like if we're looking at it from a USA standpoint, there are going to be folks who are empathetic to the job and folks who are not empathetic to the job. I would argue that there is more empathy given to a firefighter because firefighters ain't never do no fire brutality, fireman brutality.
Actually, if we want to get into history,
agreed. I understand what you're saying. Where you about to get to? But what I'm saying is, you don't have. Do you have people in positions of public service that abuse their public servant badge? Yes, absolutely. Firefighters don't be carrying a piece in most firehouses, right? EMTs do not be carrying a piece in most circumstances, right? They usually call the person like the police officer that carries the piece, that's trained in the piece, that's trained to shoot with a piece in order to maintain the peace, right? And like that's where I don't give the same, because even here, this is the discrepancy. If we're truly doing law and order, and they're about it, then I'm gonna be for whether it's black folk policing their own, if it's whatever. If you really about that law and order and establishing law and order, so this way we maintain this thing called peace, so we don't have chaos. That's supposed to be the whole crux of the matter, right? And stopping actual crooks, huh?
On paper.
Whether it's got to start somewhere, and then you got to act it out.
Because I mean, if we want to, like, as a person who grew up around police and is done a lot of research, I'm not just talking out my ass, right?
Heard.
The actual mandate of law enforcement, right, in most jurisdictions, has nothing to do with actually protecting the day-to-day people from crime.
If we're coming from here, yes, protecting property and their own property.
Right. We all know that, right? Mm-hmm. So that in itself creates a dangerous narrative because that's not what the average citizen believes a police officer's job is, right? So, as a police officer is not your personal security. That's they're an agent of the state. So,
but there's room where when you have state funded, federally, just government funded in general programs that say, hey, if something's going on, tell your nearest police officer, call 911, call the emergency response. And so you build up this not just sense narrative, but a programming of, hey, this is who you're supposed to go to in these situations. When these situations pop off, this is who you're supposed to be able to rely on. So if we're using the same analogy, the same way when it comes to these rappers, it don't even gotta be Logic or Drake, right? But it's like we're building up folks to believe that we should have this level of sympathy for folks who take from the ooze water cooler that literally turns you into a villain, right? How you get your shit is it turns you into a villain. So I feel like they two sides of the same coin.
Nah, I'm with you. We can stick to they've drank from the ooze water cooler,
right? And it's like, it's ooze. It's not even a thing of like you needed to have like a report that was done by like investigative reporters, right? Like 6 years down the line, like, oh shit, we had like 50 people dropping dead from this shit, and then had purple veins and red rainbow veins popping out, and then they had Tokar Razor hair, like, wasn't that like? And then it's like, we need to come on, John, we need to figure this something out, right? It wasn't that. It was like
okay,
right?
So if we know they've drank from this cooler. From jump, right? Is that not then everyone in the industry too?
We talked about this yesterday where I said I think folks on some Kendrick shit, we all need to deal with our level of hypocrisy and be honest about part of how we got here hip hop wise and how we have a Drake, or why we give so much attention to when Logic says stupid shit like that and then degrades his pops in the same breath, right? That's also why I be having the static that I have for Logic. It's not just that.
I know.
It's another light-skinned dude who's...
It has nothing to do with the light-skinned biracial identity. It has everything to do with how he presents himself. Listen,
it's part of it. No, part of it is because being here in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, that's right above the Mason-Dixie. No, it is definitely very much a part of that. Where it's like, anytime a light-skinned person comes into the community on some fuck shit and drank the ooze, right? And because there's two sides of that coin. Where you have someone who's darker complexion and a lighter complexion doing the same fuck shit, taken from their community, right? Drinking this ooze that got made by white supremacy on the nutrition label on the back, right? And they still popping a straw in that joint like it's a high C juice box, right? Drinking that shit, doing commercials for it. Everybody like, oh my God, what you got there? Oh, that's great. And 10, 11 years ago, I never forget it. People would try to bring the argument up of, especially when drill was popping, right? And everybody was just like, oh, no, stop, don't hate on a black man making money. And it seemed like the whole argument of how we make money was off the table, was not brought into the argument. It was, no, look at this black person get money. And it's just like, okay, well, are they setting up schools? Any of them funding Dr. Umar Johnson's school that he want to have, that he be asking everybody for funding every 5 seconds? Like, I'm not suggesting that's what should have happened. What I'm saying is,
don't set me up like that.
forget the toxicity. Right?
I said my government name on here. He might pull up on me like, "Hey, I heard you was talking about
I'm
me."
waiting for him to pull up on me and say I'm an abomination. Like, like, I'm not asking for it, but I'm just like, I know there's nothing about me. There's nothing about me saying, but my father did Attica. Baba did Attica. No, you race traitor. You should even go. You should die right now. Like, I can see. I can see him just.
This is so true.
Like,
oh God.
I'm not expecting love from him when it comes to me, right? At the end of the day, what I want some of these folks that's in these spaces to stop saying is like, just looking at there's no gatekeeping can be an issue, but if you ain't got no gatekeepers at all, you just let anybody in. That's why I ain't mad at cover charges sometimes. That's why I'm not mad at having fucking big ass Morris Chestnut or like or Channing Tatum like at the door, right? Being like, no, you can't get in with them shoes though. Like, I'm not mad at that. Like, maybe the shoes part, but I'm not mad at
yeah, no, I get it.
Somebody to vet, to have a process of vetting. The issue I'll have is like, all right, so what is? We can't be so much in subjective land. That's what to the point before we were talking about art, like where we just accept art and say, well, this is art. This is art. No. I am that artist that'll tell you that shit is not art. That is you taking a paint bucket and slapping it up on the wall and saying, look what I did. You made a mess. That's what you did. You made a mess. I'm not gonna call every single thing that we do and say, well, it was intentional. Look how it dripped and came down. No. Don't act like you just did some God type of stuff, because you didn't. You didn't make an individual snowflake or raindrop, and I have to look at your individual paint dripping and give you the same kind of oomph. Like, no, it's not the same. Right?
So, yeah, you already know this is where we disagree.
Because if Fred did that at Home Depot on his job, on his shift, he getting fired, right? And he got paid for the paint bucket.
Now, here's the thing. What you're critiquing, is it art or not art, right? It's
either it is or it isn't.
Nah, it's not, because it's still art. Listen, I'm of the firm belief, right, that art doesn't always require intentionality or skill, right? But that doesn't make everything good art. All right? We come. You forget I worked with kids.
You want the hip hop?
Nah, listen. You forget I worked with kids.
And you don't give all of them trophies?
No, but I have seen some things that aren't the most artistically beautiful, but it's still art. They still made art, right? And so I think what we end up arguing is whether we like it or we don't like it. And the problem is that when we get told we can't tell somebody we don't like that because it's not artistic to us.
It's not. Art is supposed to be a representation of a creative process in general, right? Whether it's visual art, whether it's performative art, whether it's auditory, sonic art, right? Because when we bring it to the thing of art and science, like the science is supposed to be used to give you the tools to create that art, and then the art is your expression, and then you being able to express to others, hey, look at what I made, look at what I did. And sometimes that art can become a product that we use in society, like a chair, right? Or a table.
So I'm about to ruin your whole day. It's freestyling art.
It's freestyling art, yes. Because there are some people, because the actor, well, first off, freestyling, you ain't got no written shit. That's first off. So that's an actual freestyle, right? So there is an art to freestyling. There is a science to freestyling. You have to be a wordsmith, for one. You have to know words. You can't just be out here like bubble, trouble, double, cuddle, and I give you a fucking pass and be like, oh my God, that freestyle was dope. No, that shit was ass.
Okay, so then it was still ass. Wait, but did you hear what you just said? It was still art. It was still a freestyle, but it was bad.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's great. All art is not great art.
Yeah, I'm talking about
shit is trash.
Art, or is it just you expressing yourself and the shit is your expression is just fucking dirt dog shit, and you trying to get people
but it's
to call
still
it art.
No, we don't gotta call it good art. We can still call it trash. We can still say I'm not spending no money on this. I'm not investing in it. I don't condone it, but it's still art.
If the freestyle is in a style of freestyle, that's for because what I just did, don't call that freestyle. It wasn't freestyle. That was just me freestyling off the top, thinking of whatever words that rhymed in a short amount of time. I was under pressure. Nah, but still, but in all seriousness, cuddle, double, bubble, fuddle, that's not a freestyle, right? So like, if someone said that was a freestyle, I would argue till I am fucking purple. Right?
But there's a minimalist poet somewhere right now who can write that on a page and get it published.
That don't make it a freestyle.
Somebody will lose their mind over it and still consider it art. What I'm saying is this. I hear what you're saying.
That's the problem, though. That's the problem, though. You're not... See, why ain't you swinging on these cats, man?
Because there's no need. If I don't... Okay, because this also plays into the Kendrick Drake conversation, right? And this is why both fan bases will always be at odds. Right?
Rakim just said it. There's real hip hop and there's mainstream hip hop. He said it.
You just illustrated my point so perfectly because there's a Drake fan right now who'll be like, I don't give a what that old man said. Drake got 1 point whatever billion streams on Apple Music and he da da da. You see what I'm saying? Like,
okay, and then they're gonna have to face reality at some point. I love when that happens because it's always a thing of like, all right, well they got streams and they got that, and it's like, yeah, you see how this battle though wasn't about streams. It was about who's the better rapper at the end of the day, who's an MC.
But it was still about streams though.
Because Kendrick won.
Kendrick beat him at his own game, and this is when we get into the actual strategy of warfare in hip hop, right? Because, and this is when we start to get into the nitty gritty of the culture things, right?
It was a clean W, man.
And this was something FD said really well in his video. I feel bad I'm plugging somebody else during your YouTube video, but it's a good video. It's long.
I'm hoping he sees this and then he's just like, good. You know what? I need to do a conversation with these guys. Like
that. Hey, you never know. But right in that. He compared it almost like to religion, right? Like how we've been saying, there's people who you sinned 6 days a week, but you showed up on Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. And they go through the motions and but they not in it. They not devoted, right? They not making sure that everything in their life aligns with their belief system in this way that they carry themselves, right? They're not pure in their devotion. That's Drake and Kendrick, right? Drake might show up on Easter and Christmas. Kendrick there Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night.
I hear what you're saying.
Right?
The only reason why those fans will be divided, they're two different denominations, and they don't even have... You could argue the like in Islam, you got the five pillars of Islam, right? You can go to other religions. They may not have a pillar system. They might have a checklist system. They might have what's another word that could be used?
They have tenets.
Pillars. They have tenets, right? Like, and people will argue on that. They'll be like, well, no, we make with a pillar, we can make a cube that literally is a representation of the Kaaba. Or you can use that and make a pyramid from that where they all converge at one point and then you get your middle point still. The other ones like the tennis, they're like, no, we make a circle with this joint, right? Then you got some folks who will take your shit. The point being, them fans, when it comes to this hip-hop shit, we don't have, if hip-hop was a church, we don't got no pillars. If hip-hop was a mosque, we have no pillars. We used to have elements that stood as pillars, right? But like moving past that, there's people try to say streaming as a pillar, but that don't mean nothing. When we had robots that was up in the stream count back in early 2000s.
Yeah, the bots have been around for a long time,
right? Like, people like it's new. It's not new, right?
It's not new at all.
So that can be taken off automatically. So then it's just like, all right, well, what are we judging this on then? It's like when folks say that that's beautiful versus that ugly. Ugly exists. Like,
Okay, I'm not that guy. I ain't that guy.
No, hear what I'm saying. We live in a world of opposites. We cannot discount that opposites exist. Have people used words in a good, great, constructive way? No. But look, if beauty exists, then ugly exists. Right?
Yeah.
No one just likes to be called ugly. Dick Gregory said it though. God don't. He said for the first time, you look at this whole political family of dude that's running for office. He's like, you now have an example of what ugly look like.
Pretty fair. It's pretty fair.
Now, when we put it like that, it's like everybody gets it, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like there are clear aspects of what you're looking at, and you may not be able to be like, I'm not trying to get into who's the most beautiful. I'm just trying to get to a point of saying, do we even know what ugly is, what beautiful is?
So, yeah, I'm with you. So to pull us
bad food,
back,
good food.
I gotta pull us back to Kendrick and Drake, right? Because I think that we've talked so many other things that inform, right, or create layers in this battle. But we haven't really gotten to the nitty gritty of the battle, right? Of who they are, who they represent, and I think both of us are very unique perspectives and interesting ones on it. Simply because I think that one, we are, if we talk timing, right, of exposure to trying to create and garner a hip hop audience, right? We were operating at a similar time in terms of, right, they're just operating on a different scale, if we're being honest. But we're all kind of products of the same hip hop timeline, right? Okay, so we have an insight into that late 2000s, early 2010s landscape, right? It's a very, and FD did a great job of bringing this up in that it being kind of the post-Kanye landscape where the doors were open for a lot of different kinds of hip-hop and artists, right? And that, but at the same time, during that time is when the argument of rappers versus MCs was actually heating up in a way that rappers won. Nobody wants to say that, but rappers won, and I think that's why
folks said it.
No, I'm talking about the mainstream though. Don't want to admit that.
I feel like MCs didn't want to admit it for they didn't want to admit it for a minute. And the MCs being the old heads, the OGs, any of the cats that was on, like I was part of the Lyrical Miracle backpack, right? Backpack rapping. I claim that,
Miracles.
right? Yeah,
miracle
like the rapidy raps is
you're a lyrical
as Button would say, like because the rappers, and that been my issue too. Like so basically it'd be like, all right, well, MCing means you have the ability to rap. So being called a rapper doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually dope at rapping. It just means that you know how to put rhymes together, put them on a flow, put them on a beat, like put a flow to it, put them on a beat, and then make a rap song. But they don't make your ass a rapper, right? You could be a wrestler and have all the technical move sets and all that and still get your ass whipped and be treated as a fucking jobber, right? Like you
cold-blooded.
but that's real. And that's what I feel like they want to be accepted in. Where it's like, Logic, you're a jobber. That's what you are. You're a jobber. No one's looking at you and saying, hey, this is my guy. No one is saying that. The only ones who were saying that was the ones in the beginning when it was like, oh, we finally have a mental health rapper, right? But then it was just like, no, we got Jordan Lucas. Get out of here. Get him out. Get him out.
Well, I mean, I think that's a whole. I don't want to even talk about Logic because I have to be honest. I don't follow Logic. I stopped caring about Logic very early on.
Why did you stop caring about Logic very early on?
Well, you know this because you know me. I'm a hip hop purist, and if I get an inkling that you're not really about it, I'm not. I'm just not going to invest my time and energy right now. You may have a fan base. There may be people like, dude showed up on an episode of Rick and Morty, and I was just like, But why? So like,
We know why.
all of those things, exactly, because he knew who his audience was. And I'm smart enough to know these things, right? So,
But Drake is the same guy.
wait, this is the difference though, because let's go now. Let's go back to
He
this.
got
Like I
bops.
said,
That's it.
we came into this timeline similar times, right? So we were there when Best I Ever Had dropped, and as you were a lyrical miracle guy, and I was more of the freestyle Friday.
Lyrical miracle.
I wasn't lyrical miracle because y'all wasn't that obsessive. Y'all was obsessive. I wasn't that obsessive. I'm a late bloomer, in my opinion, to hip hop. Right? If we talk about our hip hop journeys, I'm a late bloomer. I judged all my friends in high school. I can openly admit that now as an adult, because I was like, why y'all want to be rappers, bro? Like, we supposed to go to school, get our degrees, go get real jobs. That's not a real job, right?
And then just come in killing it with rapping.
That's not how it started. See, because this is the thing.
I'm not saying it started that way. I'm saying that like you was just like, you might have said that, but then you act like you wasn't ill.
So from that, then going, not participating in freestyle circles as a kid, just watching, you're observing, you're taking it in, right? Because a lot of it was also the timing in which we grew up in hip hop. I am, and you are, of a generation of rappers that what you say is who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, and Kendrick is of that same generation. What you say is who you are. So you can't just get up here and say anything, right?
So Drake isn't held to that same standard, though?
We're going to get to that, because he's not. We're going to get to that. So, right?
Why is he not? Hold up.
Okay, wait. Let me finish. Let me finish. So, right, coming up in that way, going away to college, interacting with other guys in college who was rapping, right? Coming back home now, my friends got their own studio. We doing all this stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll help y'all write some hooks, right? And now I'm exposed. Then I go back to school, and my friends had started a artist collective, Breeding Grounds, and they would freestyle at the beginning and end of meetings. And one day I jumped in, and Cats was like, yo, you actually good. I didn't even know I could do it. I surprised myself. But once you start it, you're like, oh, this is fun. I like this feeling. And then you meet other people who challenge you in ciphers, and you push yourself and blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like Street Fighter, right? Like, I'm going to be like, Ryu, I'll rap anywhere. It's kind of how my mentality became.
But how is Drake not
to the same standard, though? Here's the thing, though. Now, by the time we meet, I'm like a senior, super senior, right? And this is when I kind of start to get first exposed to Drake, right? Best I Ever Had is blowing up. People are sharing his mixtape. I hear his song. White Boys is playing it. White Boys is playing it, who lived on my dorm floor.
Mm-hmm.
I go and I'm like, yo, who is that? Oh, this guy Drake. I'm like, who the hell is Drake? Show me a picture, and I'm like, oh, that's little Wheelchair Jimmy, right? Because my prom date loved Degrassi, so she had made us watch all this Degrassi. That's how I got exposed to Drake for the first time, was Degrassi. But I'm like, oh, that's the, Wheelchair Jimmy, the kid from Degrassi. It's like, okay, Wheelchair Jimmy could rap, right? Like, that's not bad, right? Like, it's good. Because his early stuff wasn't that bad. I was like, okay, that's cute, right? But nothing like blows you away. He's going to be the greatest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put a pin in that. We fast forward now. First album drops. He's blowing up. He's doing all this stuff. Granted, we've rapped over their beats, and we did the whole mixtape rapper coming up, trying to make a remix of everybody's songs. But one thing that threw me with Drake was eventually he made, what song was that? I don't even remember the title of the song, but I'll never forget the bar. When he said, "You gonna mess around and make me catch a body like that?" I said, oh, this is interesting, right? Like, he started to take on certain things that were like, I'm a thug, I'm hard, I'm a gangster. And I was just like, nobody's going to test him on this? Like, I was waiting for the test.
Mm-hmm.
the test never came because of all the cosigns, right? You have Wayne, you have Jay Prince, who's in the background, right? Which Drake takes advantage of, but then also there's other little things happening inside hip hop circles that these dudes don't respect Drake. Drake is just pushing this persona out, right? You got the whole incident with Diddy slapping him. You got T.I. peeing on his leg. Well, T.I.'s friend peeing on his leg. All these other things, right? Mm-hmm. So this is when we get back to what you said about gatekeepers.
And gangsters.
And this is why the whole concept of how hip-hop was moving is important to discuss, because the gangsters with money were protecting Drake. The gatekeepers, which is why I also said Drake is partly dumb luck, but also an inevitability. Somebody was going to fill that role.
The chosen light skin.
Right? Of just, I don't even want to say the chosen light skin, but like the corporate shell. The person who they're going to take hip hop to new levels of consumerism that we hadn't seen before, right? Because Puffy took it to one level with the shiny suits. Somebody had to take it to another level.
When you're talking, you saw they cloned Tyrone, right?
Yes.
Drake is literally the light-skinned Tyrone. Like at the end, they literally found out they figured out the formula of how
to make the light-skinned dude.
And they said, I got a little bit of Diddy, I got a little bit of Wayne, I got a little bit of this, and we just gonna put some conch in this. And
right?
Boom.
Okay.
And that,
so we
poof, he came out.
So we're in agreement on this about Drake being this perfect amalgamation of all the consumerist things that were bad in hip hop, right? So Drake is that thing.
I'm saying he's the ultimate house nigga.
I know how you are, so I know you in your bag right now. I'm talking about for the context of our conversation. He's this amalgamation of all these consumerists, all the things a hip hop purist would be mad about, right? The commercialization of hip hop, of the thing we love.
It's how it's commercialized, because like,
yeah, I'm with you, right? Kendrick, on the other hand, is the rapper we all view ourselves to be. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I told my wife this and she kind of laughed at me. I was like, nah, if I'm being honest, Kendrick's one of the reasons I stopped rapping. People be like, what? And I'd be like, yeah, that boy pen is nasty. Like, it made me really be like, I don't want to write. And that man is writing that. That's impressive, right? And not so much that like I can't compete. No, I'm a competitor.
Because you're in your peaceful. See, right there. You're in your peaceful warrior mode.
Yeah, I'm good.
And it's like, hold up, because Fonte said it, and he had said it on "Charity Starts at Home," and I love this song on the album. Said my wifey wants a hunter and a gatherer, but after I capture her, now I got to put my spear up. Man, I don't fear much, but the thought of losing her hits me in the tear ducts, right? Just that. The whole song itself, just in terms of how he talks about a relationship and you having to be a man and be a husband, right, is something truly to admire. First off, and he's just one of my top 5. Right?
Oh, Fonte is good. But speaking of Fonte is a silent victim in this whole thing. Because who was one of Drake's influences, who Drake looked up to?
Lil Brother.
Pretty much completely swagger jacked. And nobody's talking about that part.
So there's a reason as to why. And it is a deeper black issue. And it goes all the way back to the example I was saying of don't stop that black man from getting money. And how sometimes we'll even feed into that, even if it means our own demise in that moment. Not saying this with Fonte, but I'm saying we will look out for ourselves in a way where we're like, I ain't trying to take a black man down in public, and we'll leave it at that part of saying. So for Fonte, for Little Brother and them, including Ninth at that time when he was a part of Little Brother, they all looked at Drake as one of them, right? And there was no discrepancy of saying, for at least I've never heard any of them say, like, they don't view Drake as a black man, essentially.
No, they've never publicly bashed him. I don't think, okay, here's the thing. I don't think there's people who, when we talk about genealogically and DNA and all that shit, Drake is black. We get that. Nobody's denying that. And I think that's the part that his fan base pisses people off with. right? It's that no one is denying that, yes, he has a Black American father, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Granted. Fine. That's not the issue. The problem is that, and that's what we was talking about with hip hop rap being that vehicle for blackness earlier, right? Is that, did I freeze? Did you hear all of that?
No, you froze a couple times. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
Still moving.
Is that like we've equated blackness to poverty and struggle. And
I get that part.
And that's where the rub happens, because then people who feel like they were never given the love because they weren't hood enough or they weren't quote unquote black enough then want to jump in to defend Drake. And it's like, no, Drake is an exploiter though. Like, it's not even about him not quote unquote being black enough. It's how he relates back to it, and that he is taking.
Because
and there's no beholdens or giving back.
There's an aspect of hunger that does not get talked about in relation to the levels of being black. When you hungry and when you truly hungry, it is going to cause you to do certain things that you would not necessarily do if your stomach was well fed. And I mean that literally, right? So when folks go to talking like that they hood, and then you hear the Hood Olympics or the Pain Olympics is told by black folk, and it's just like, well, how hood is you? Well, we had ketchup sandwiches, or we had mustard sandwiches. Some folks be like, man, that ain't nothing. We just had bread sandwiches. We just had bread, and that was it, right? Some folks
we had imaginary sandwiches.
Right? you start, and others who aren't from that will laugh at it, right? Whereas the laughter that's happening and taking place is because we know. There's an aspect of the poverty that there's just like, oh shit, I remember. And for some of us, it don't come when you in my case, my struggles came when I left home, and I had to make my own way. And I'm here in Pittsburgh, and I'm trying to figure out how this shit going. And everybody like, damn, Doss, how'd you lose all that weight? Cause I can't afford food, Nick. What are you talking about? Like, it's like I wasn't expecting that. Cause why wasn't you expecting that? Cause you light skinned. Meaning I'm supposed to have some kind of hidden brain genes that pop in, and all of a sudden it's supposed to just work itself out, and I'll be able to magically eat, right? That's what they be looking. That's where I get mad at Drake, is because when he came out, every single light skinned man had to be this fucking Morris Chestnut light skinned ass clone, right? Dead ass. Where it was just like you couldn't go nowhere. It's like, I want me a guy like Drake. I want this. I want that. And it was like, there's other types of black men, right? You know that, right? Yeah, but they not like him. And so a good portion of black men at that time was getting compared. It was hard. Look, it was hard enough just you being yourself as a black man, right? And finding confidence and being and looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, I love the black and beautifulness that I see right there. I love that right there. Right? Uh-huh. And then all of a sudden you get this nigga just done came in and snatched it all from I'm exaggerating to a degree, but I'm not.
Right? I know. I listen, you forget who you talking to. I was there. I get it.
But like that's what I'm saying. It was like you have folks saying like, oh my God, do you hear how deep his songs are and what he's talking about and this? And it's like he made a generic love song that got y'all in the mood. That was it. They got y'all in the mood, and you're just like, I want more of that. And then you went for the guy that, what do we always do when we trying to bag at that time? We'll start playing the songs that will get the shorties, right? And so there was a whole time in which everybody was playing this man and playing any other song that sounded like him, and everybody thought them was deep, right? It was just like, oh my God, he understands women. No, he doesn't. He understands how to get into your pants.
But see that's the deeper thing, right? You just said it. You said it perfectly, because he used that, right? And this is another thing that plays into a level of this beef. That's
the predatorial aspect.
He's calculating in the sense that I'm going to manipulate my way to the next thing. When it was women will get me in the door, everything was women oriented and geared towards them. When that was no longer beneficial for his success, because when we're like, aren't you going to grow and change into an adult? Because we're adults now. We're not 20 anymore.
But folks,
We're 30, and a lot of people, he lost a large percentage of that audience, and then he started to shift a little bit in terms of how he was presenting himself into the next chameleon form to make himself more profitable and palatable, which further created that.
He never.
What is your core? I know what you're saying, because you're saying I seen it from the beginning that he's not real. But
I know a lot of us saw, not just that he's not real. Well, with Logic, for instance, we saw. It's not that he wasn't just real. He was doing shit that I did when you first met me. Trying to find who you are, and then someone saying you should be this way. Someone saying you should be this way. Then you saying, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna be this. And even what you said was this still ain't you, because it's still you choosing something. It's still you choosing a shirt out of this warehouse called Blackness, right? And you putting it on and like, yeah, it's your size, but it don't fit. You don't wear it well. You don't wear it like it's you, right? And that's what I mean, was like when it come to Logic, you could see that part. When it come to Drake, it's like, this dude got the pedo mustache. Y'all don't see that? He got, why he look like a light-skinned Dr. Disrespect? Like, how do y'all, wait a minute. We know we know what this look like. We can't, come on, y'all. Nah, we giving grace. Giving grace for what? Because you want to fuck them? Like, no. Like, because then it'd be a whole thing. Where did this come from? I don't know.
That's a bigger critique, though. That's deeper than Drake right there.
It's not a bigger critique. People just need to admit that they love Dr. Disrespect mustaches.
In terms of I'm done with you. In terms of the protection of those we favor in light of their abuses, that's a deeper communal conversation that I think is important for us to have in hip hop in general, right? Because there's a lot of our heroes, our faves, who are trash ass people, and we've kind of written it off. And these are people who've never actually had any form of mea culpa, apology, none of that. We just kind of write it off like, oh yeah, but yeah. No.
And it's like, right? How many Tyler Perry movies do you need to see of the abusive boyfriend, and that becomes the next rap star? Right, this is literally they just had this on. I forget what comedy joint it was.
Yeah, but I think it's deeper than. I think it's even deeper than like. I mean, I think it goes back to even kind of when the conversation we talked about how trauma plays out generationally. I think and communally. So that's because even like when we talk about Kendrick in the battle, right? You're calling out Drake for being a pedo, for being a creep, for being a groomer, whatever. You're talking about some of the snake moves and a lot of the underhanded things he's done, but you also have Dre at your show. Like, there's a level to that where the only thing that gets Kendrick, I think, a half a pass is that Kendrick has openly for the last decade said, I'm a hypocrite. And I'm not a hypocrite just to say like how we were talking about the people who go, well, I'm unapologetically going to be myself. It's more so saying I'm a hypocrite to let you know that I'm going to hold myself accountable, that I'm going to be wrong sometimes.
There's some who would argue that even though he's doing that he's also wrong. We just accept his wrong because it's easily, to your point, it's easily identifiable.
I think there is a part of that. I think there are things that Kendrick has done that we've overlooked, but I also think that, for me at least, as a person, right, I understand how powerful fear and shame are. Mm-hmm. And as an artist, to be vulnerable about any form of hypocrisy or shortcoming is super powerful. Because even as a regular human being, that's one of the hardest things we all struggle with. So I'm not putting Kendrick on some pedestal like he's perfect, but I'm also willing to acknowledge that takes work. Like, but that's also why a lot of people misunderstood, I think, his last 3 projects. I won't even just say they misunderstood Mr. Morale, right? I think Pitbull people misunderstood Damn, and I think people misunderstood To Pimp a Butterfly, right? And this goes back to even our conversation about art and artists. Kendrick is an artist. He has truly taken the time and dedication to craft this thing from beginning to end to really give you a complete piece of art, right? I didn't just put 15 songs on a CD and say, buy my CD, which a lot of us have done. Like a lot of artists like, okay, and this is for the day ones. Your album that we did with DCX, right? One of the benefits of it was that you have been crafting a sound for years, right? You already had an idea of what you wanted your project to be, right? But now you had these rowdy ass crazy people putting a battery in your back to help you polish off the edges. And it really was a fully from front to back, a actually well thought out and sculpted and crafted project, which is why I think people really enjoyed it, right? The problem is we were too young and dumb to fully understand how to really do that right. And we didn't all have the same intentions and goals.
I think it's more so the last part, because I've seen, like, we were our own TDE, right? Like, just with the intentions. Perfect example when it came to trying to figure out what to do for the first music video that never got done, right? Because it was like, yo, you know what we should do, y'all? For the one collaborative track. It was like, we should go to Pittsburgh. We should go shoot some footage there, shoot some footage here in Bing, and then we're going to go see E and shoot some footage there with some shorties on the beach in Florida. And I was just like, no, ain't doing it. Right?
I'm mad I wasn't there for that conversation.
That was in my opinion, that was the beginning of the end.
I would have been like, that's a dumb idea, y'all. This is not economical at all.
From our mutual, I believe in his, if I remember correctly, I think he even said that was part of the beginning of the end, right? Just because of how my response was, his response, and then just that, and how we went about it moving forward, right? Because then there was a need to get other artists on board, so the whole thing is not riding on you and I, right? Where it's just like, well, yeah, if we're trying to make a label, like, it's not just a label for us, like, yeah, that's cool, but it's the intentions of why we'll make something. It still brings it back to the point of what we end up giving passes to and then what we don't give passes to, and how there's not a consistent standard of things. There's not a consistent object that we can be objective with, and then when we have to be subjective, we can be subjective with. Like when it comes to art, we've been so subjective with it that, yeah, it became global, hip-hop wise, but then now we don't even have, now we're dealing with almost damn near like Republicans changing the history of slavery when it comes to our roots within hip-hop, where you got some folks even having the audacity to say, well, y'all wasn't treating it well till it got over here, and we had to take it and run with it and put it in our language and do that. And it's like, y'all wouldn't even have breakdancing and b-boying and boom bap and all that had it not been from fucking the 80s to the 2000s. What are you talking about? But at the same time, we the ones that kept saying, well, don't stop the black man from making his money. Don't stop the black man from making his money. And it's like witnessing when they couldn't do, they cloned Tyrone in America, and then he brought it overseas. And I remember feeling like, them English black actors is about to replace us. I remember when I saw it.
But they can only do one accent.
They could come over here and put on an American accent. Because
no, they put on a New York accent. They all talk like dudes from Brooklyn. Don't nobody, not one of them can do any other American accent. They all, yeah, son, you know, I'm just be out here, you know.
But it works. It works. That's to your point of what you were saying about what is you made a point of saying that some folks think New York, black New York, is all of black folk. Mm-hmm. Right? I was explaining to my mom, I was just like, Mom, one way that you can know if a black person knows and is down is no matter where they're from, what Southern lexicon is in their verbiage. I was like, most black folks that know and are down say ambulance, say police, right? Like there's certain words that'll be said
no matter where you're from.
Just how it's said. You can have the thickest West Coast accent, East Coast accent, and you still say Hines. Time, yo, what time is it? No! Like, you just say certain things, and it's just like, wait,
where your people from?
Yeah. Even just how you said that, right? And then now we'll just have a whole personal genealogy report going, right? And just like, you know Tommy? Tommy? Carolina Tommy? I know Carolina Tommy. Like, and just, we'll have that kind of a moment. And, yeah, man, I mean, at the end of it, I don't think, if I had, all right, we can end it on this here, right? I gotta figure out this good way of saying the question, like a good curveball question that will probably get the internet on fire, at least black internet, and that's cool. Just so long as we don't burn the house down, right? If you had the chance to gatekeep, who would you kick at? You know how we say, like, all right, Rachel Dolezal, she got traded out of the caucus? Not even traded out. She just, like, we just unpacked her locker, all her office supplies and shit, put it in a box, and kicked that joint, and she's no longer in there. Who would you take out of the current hip-hop caucus, right? You already know I got Logic and Drake. I'm just waiting to serve them their fired papers from Hip Hop LLC, right? But if you had the choice, because some of them are trying to come in now, man. I just saw Tim Scott had an interview downstairs just like 2 weeks ago. Now what?
I'm shaking my head. This is a tough one, because this is the downside of being like a hip hop Jedi, as I'll say it. That's what I'll call myself.
You don't have to answer it like even seriously for real.
And not even. No, I'm going to answer it seriously. I like the question, right? I think as a hip hop historian, as a person who truly loves this thing we call hip hop.
Does that mean if you say that you rap though? Because like you said that like.
But the thing that got me into hip hop and actually rapping was that I loved hip hop, like as a fan, like not even as like the first rhyme I actually ever came up with was, "My name's Kymel, I got the whole spell. If you mess with me, I'll knock you to hell." Right? That was the first one. And then after that one was, "They call me the wizard because I can make a rainstorm from a rat's ass and a chicken's gizzard." Mad random, right? But you can see right there that I'm a child of 90s New York. Like, you're a kid who's being exposed to things like Wu-Tang and all these other weird-ass, outlandish, it don't matter what you really say, right? But then as I became a teenager, right, hip-hop changes, right? We're into the shiny suit era. Jay-Z is the king, right? And I was team Jay-Z. Even though I love Nas, I was team Jay-Z, right? Most people would think, Kymel, the way you rap, you would have been a Nas. No, if you really know me,
so there's
a lot more, right?
Maybe not a specific artist, but to that point, is there like a caricature you would want out of the building, of this building known as hip-hop?
So to answer that question, I struggle with kicking people out because it is so universal, but I also think that there's if you're not giving anything back to this thing, right?
85% of the industry.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, right? Then you need to leave and reevaluate, right?
They're not leaving though. That's why you got to kick them out, serve them their papers.
That's not gonna happen, because at the end of the day, we are not in a hip hop industry anymore. We have to accept that, right? Hip hop stopped being its own tiny little nook and cranny in like
2008, 2007.
I'd even go
Before that.
2002, 2003.
When ringtone rap came in, for me, I remember that like 2005, like Chicken Noodle
Like,
Soup.
yeah, when we were getting ready to come out of high school and go into college, hip hop was the mainstream. Like every party I went to, they played hip hop. They didn't play white people music. White people listened to hip hop. They might not have listened to the hip hop we listened to. Right? Like sometimes they'd be playing a song that I was like, that was kind of hot 2 summers ago. Like we not even. Whereas now they're in the know. They are the engine, right? Which is another thing that has to be honestly spoken on, is that white suburbia middle America, the corporate interests that run hip hop understand they have the money to burn. The hood is the bed that's creating the talent,
but also want that credibility of being edgy, being gangster. That, I mean, it's the whole thing of being safe. Like Drake is safe,
example.
Logic is safe, but like
but they're not always like Logic isn't marketable. Drake fucking somehow made himself the most marketable man.
Logic is marketable. He's just marketable to simps.
So, but to stop you're probably right. Like I said, I don't even know Logic no more. I don't follow him. I checked out.
All damn near marketing most of the time is just the image part. So just looking at him, he's gonna be sold. You're not expecting to hear a Drake jam, and I don't even want to disrespect the other artists I would put into this category, but you're not expecting to hear like bangers like anybody from Maybach. You're not expecting to hear anybody from the old Dynasty or the Rock when you look at Logic.
Oh no, not at all. Drake has done a much better form of bridging to those things than Logic ever could.
Because he's a cheat code. He's a cheat code.
Well, Drake is also just not he's.
I'm trying to tell you some light skin shit. I'm trying to tell you some light skin shit, man. Like you just take the token light skin and walk into the room, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're safe."
Okay, let me say this about you, because you old school light skin. You like how my mom. You're like that group of light skinned people who y'all go like back in the day where the light skinned dude was gonna be the one with the gun, like, nah, we gonna kill all these crackers. And be like, whoa. All the dark skinned people was like, whoa, calm down. Like, nah, I'm sick of y'all. Y'all gotta understand. I'm ready to die. You be like, okay. Like that's you and my mom. Y'all that version of light skin. Y'all not the new light skins now. The new light skinned kids now.
Piss me off.
They mama went to a Run DMC concert, and you know she loved hip hop. She got the same little short I'ma call a manager haircut. It's a very particular brand of biracial light-skinned people, right? And that's not to be offensive, but it's also a reflection of, like I said, if I can't oppress you, how do I package you, right? And a lot of it is that we allowed how hip-hop in some instances created and taught black men masculinity in a hypersexualized way, which feeds a idea and a mythology about blackness that white folks like, created some of these people, right? That an older generation of biracial people weren't created from.
Because we weren't allowed to.
It's different.
Depending on where you at, you weren't allowed to buy into your packaging, so to speak. Like just because you was put into this the on some Toy Story shit, just because you was put in on the shelf in the little plastic bubble and all that. No, you understood it was a plastic bubble you got to break out of. You got to experience life on your own terms and all that. But the way that they got cast packaged now, like it's just they give you the hot comb in the packaging with you and the conch material, just so you can just it's like the beginning of Malcolm X. They give you the whole package. They don't even give you the they don't even give you the suit after you done seen Brother Baines. They don't even give you the I come back from Mecca suit.
Stupid.
There's a whole line. If we was Ken dolls.
Listen, but we are. Think about it, right? That whole stupid Barbie movie, right? It's not a stupid movie. It's actually a really good movie. If you pay attention. It's okay. Check it out if you get a chance. It's not me co-signing it, but it's me saying there's some things there, right? And that a lot of times
doing that work, brother.
Nah, because here's the thing, right? A lot of times we don't challenge our realities. That's really what that whole movie is about. Barbie's reality is challenged, so she goes about trying to adjust it and experience something different, right? Because she's been in this bubble that is a false reality, right? That everything is perfect in Barbie world, and Barbie's rule, and they the president, da, da, da. She came to the real world, and people are like, yeah, whatever, shut up. Like, you're a woman, relax. But Ken, who's been living in this bubble where he feels subjugated and secondhand, right? It's almost like Planet of the Apes, but with dolls, right? Like, I love Planet of the Apes because Planet of the Apes is white people being honest.
Ish. But
it's that's their greatest fear. It's that all the people they've treated as subhuman and less than is one day gonna flip and put them in that same position, right? Because the first Planet of the Apes, them white people was in cages and loincloths. They look crazy as hell. Like, y'all just forgot how to make clothes, and like even the new one, apparently they forgot how to talk. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? Like, but that lets me further know how you view me, right? Because you're really saying the oppressed of the world will rule and do to me what I've done to them. And that's my true fear, right? And even when we talk about
fear of a black planet,
exact Kendrick and Drake's battle, right? Drake is so used to the current state of the reality of what he believed hip-hop to be, which is really not hip-hop, that Kendrick, as a purist, said, I'm going to show you hip-hop. When the actual people, the community itself, just stops banging with you, and it's so undeniable that you can't escape it. And that's really what won Kendrick the battle. Was it was a slow burn, because Euphoria, it was like, ooh, that's like classic hit. Ooh, we making faces. Ooh, right? 616 meet the ground. Drake still had a chance.
Line, that before Not Like Us.
But once Not Like Us dropped, it was already, because all the chinks had been made in the armor, right? All the weak points had been hit, and now I'm about to. It's like Kill Bill, right? Like, I done hit you with the palm technique, and I'm waiting for you to take your fifth step so your heart explodes. Like, but when you don't truly come from it and understand it, and not in the sense of like your basic borderline fan, but a deep cut fan. Because Drake was a basic borderline fan of hip hop. He wasn't a deep cut fan.
He didn't know how many. He wasn't ready for the amount of folks that hate him.
That too.
I mean, because look, I was waiting for the dominoes of Drake to fall. A lot of us been waiting for it.
A decade.
Not in the sense of like we wanted it to fall. Not we're expecting it to fall at some point. We wanted it to fall, right? Because of what he represents and how that representation gets matched amongst all of us. When I got to go teach hip-hop in certain circles, right, to certain youth, this is always something that come up. Not just the Drake-Kendrick aspect of it, but it could be an artist that does what he does. And then you got youngins saying to you, well, that's the thing that's successful. And you trying to school them on, okay, maybe in the short term, this is successful, but long term, this is where your life ends up leading. It's what Budden said to Yachty on Everyday Struggle, where he said, like, look, you want to make this kind of music, whatever, but like in 5 years, what are you gonna make? You gonna keep making the same thing? Like, are you not allowing yourself to grow? I want to hear what 28-year-old Yachty sound like. And
well, see, you just hit the nail on the head on why I said what I said about how it's hard for me with my universal approach to hip hop to say anyone should be kicked out. But at the same time, if you don't love this, you need to leave, because we've invited so many people in who don't love it. Like, perfect example. This is no shade or aspersions on her. Ice Spice. Somebody saw the growth of Cardi B and said, let's try to replicate it. And they got Ice Spice. But when you look at her now, you can see how it's draining her. This shit ain't fun no more. Right? You don't love it the same. And like, that's what got me out of hip hop. I love hip hop. But when it wasn't fun no more, and the people around me and the pressures I felt from them didn't feel like, you don't love this the way I love this. This is something different for you. And I don't want my brain to make this that. Like, I could be broke and I'll still do this. right? Because I genuinely love it, but I would love to make money doing it. But once the money becomes more important than my love, I'm realizing this ain't the space for me. Because I'm not going.
It had to be a thing of learning how to. I had to tell my homie the other day. I genuinely love winning, and so like when it comes to hip hop, I had like numerous introductions. I got into it with like listening to Will Smith, Millennium, because I couldn't listen to nothing else in the crib. Anything else I heard was just by proxy, right? But then like when high school hit, my man Devon, he went to Boscov's, and it was when at the bottom of Boscov's when they had the music section, right? They don't have it there. They hadn't had it there for decades, right? But they had a whole music section down there, and I remember they had Will Smith's Millennium on cassette, right? And I was like, bet. I'm getting this, and I already got my argument in my head laid out for my parents. I'm like, well, it's Will Smith. He don't cuss. You know he don't cuss because he tell everybody he don't cuss, right? So, and I don't know what I'm going to expect. And I listened to this John, and I was like, oh, this is wild. This is dope. Okay. And I'm trying to like share it with some of the homies at school, and they're just like, because Jay-Z's Blueprint, same year as ninth grade. There was no competing with it, right? And
especially not for Millennium.
No.
Which is a good album.
It is, but it's not.
It's not a bad album.
It wasn't. But for me, I didn't hear Blueprint until like a couple years after that, for real. Because I just played the hell out of Millennium, right? Then I meet homeboy Owen, Lou Cypher, right? And he's like, wait. You Muslim and you don't know who Talib and Mos Def is? He's like, that can't be. No. You gotta know some of these conscious rappers. And I was like, conscious rap? What is this? Right? And he put me down to all these different conscious rappers, and then he from Brooklyn, right? So he didn't just stop there. Then he's just like, all right, I'm a battle rapper. It's like, battle rapping? What's that? He puts me down with Big L, puts me down with Big Pun. Right? Just punchline cats. And like not no soft ass punchline cats. Like some crazy, like I'm gonna for your whole yes.
Oh my God.
So I had these two extremes of save the world and burn it down. Right? And putting it over a beat. It's been that was really just the entry point in the first stage. Then he told me about Kanye. He's like, if you liking Talib and Moses stuff, I think you gonna like Kanye, man. And he make his own beats, and he gave me Fruity Loops.
That's the dude who changed the game right there. I tried to tell everybody. It's a pivotal part in canon event in hip hop.
You couldn't tell me nothing really at that point where I saw this guy who was not liked by anybody, who was not the cool dude. He was always, and I still looked at this way today, where folks will look at someone like Kanye, well, back then, myself, Ninth Wonder, a Jay Dilla, and back then when we looking at these cats, we're like, I can do this too. Now, folks are like, can you do that for me? You got any more of them H to the Izzo beats? You got any more of them threats? It's threats, pimp. You got any of them? Like, and it's been the wildest, because that's what leads to you having your Childish Gambino moments. That's what leads to you having these moments where you just like, you Kendrick, you just don't care about what the fans think, really. You care about your peoples, but you stop, because the money part, man, I've quit hip-hop so many different times, and I get paid literally to be a maestro for hip-hop orchestra. And you've seen my hip-hop. Literally, the only part of my journey you missed was the high school journey. That's it. And it wasn't like I was releasing shit then, right? Like, I released a couple of EPs back from 2008, the first 2 years of Obama, from 2008 to 2010, and then I started working on Pissed Off SoulMan. I had 6 songs done, and then we finished the last 6 at the crib. We started the Soul Brothers. That the night we started working on that joint in the living room, right? That was literally then is when you started seeing the makings of SoulMan, right? Because I remember at the crib I was like, I gotta have a mascot of some kind, like the Dropout Bear, but I don't want no Dropout Bear, because I don't want, like, it's gonna be hard to pivot away from that. And I'm not Kanye where I can like do like a hard switch and everybody gotta just deal with it, right? Because after he left the Dropout Bear and went to 808 and Heartbreaks, like there were some folks still saying I want the Dropout Bear, but everybody was like, no, man, no.
Yeah, it's over.
It's he's got it. And so it was like, all right, this whole, now it's just trying to convince people that SoulMan ain't pissed off all the time. Good luck on that. Right?
Yeah, you started the brand with pissed off. I'm just saying. He was a very angry man back then.
I had every right to be angry. And I was looking at it like, yo, I still look at it like this.
You were the Reggie Miller to my Mark Jackson. I would just let everybody think, look at this, what he gonna do? He ain't gonna. I'd be like, okay. I'd be like, hey, man, they was talking shit. Put the battery in your back and let you go out and explode.
That's one thing I've had to look at, especially when it comes to the light skin dynamics and the colorism dynamics, is no one is expecting most light skin cats to swing. No one is expecting that shit. They're expecting you to be more vanilla than you is chocolate, right? And even when you say that, right, it's gonna make my white side of the family gonna be so mad when they see this. But it is what it is, because
that shit was funny. I don't care.
When George Floyd happened, I remember them saying, "Well, Das, I don't see you as black. I see you as Idasa." Said that shit, right? And it started showing me, damn, there's a lot of folks that view me as I'm not black, I'm OJ. Yeah, okay. Like, was viewing me in that same. I remember it was a sister out here who ended up turning me down because she said she wanted chocolate babies. But she said the similar thing. She said a similar thing that you said. Well, she was like, basically she asked the question one day, she's like, why do y'all light-skinned dudes, why do y'all overcompensate with your pro-blackness? And I'm like, you know why. You know damn well why. I gotta remind you that I'm out here in the fields. Do not let this three-piece house suit fool you. I just like fashion. That's it. Don't let it fool you. And hey, you're looking at my three-piece suit, but how long have I been wearing this? How many days I've been wearing this shit? It's not like I got a whole wardrobe of these shits.
I used to crack up, bro. I used to be like, bruh, cause I used to be like, yo, I get it, but calm down, man. It's all right. We got you. You good.
But not everybody got it. And that was the other thing. And part of that
everybody
too was
didn't get it. You're right.
No. Well, yeah. To the point of what you saying, when I hear because we got you, I know you mean that. And I know folks that think like you up here mean that, right? But then also in moving here to Pittsburgh, my homegirl Quay, she had to put me down with saying, with figuring out that there's been way too many folks that look like me on here that'll come in and do the, hey, what's going on, y'all? Yeah, community, yeah, right? And they do that, and then they leave. And they take everything that you got. And then on top of that, they'll hit you with a Drake response. Well, you let me do this. This is part of the game, yo. You taught me the game. And now all of a sudden they that's why I go so hard when it comes to this dude, right? In particular. And then when it comes to Logic, it's like, dude, if you don't tighten up and then also stop disparaging your pops in the way that you do, and still at the same and I would never be able to call my pops nigga. Like in conversation, there is you saw how your face, yo. Dude, I'll send you the clip.
Man, I'm scared. Here in the present, right now. And this would have to be a past situation, and I'm still like, don't. Mm-mm.
But that's why when I had the question, it was just like, hold up.
But I feel you on that.
Like, is
because it's a deeper reflection of the. Because I think it's a deeper reflection, and this is kind of what I was hinting at. I didn't want to really say that, right? But I think that we have I say there's this old school kind of biracial people and the more modern biracial people. There was a lot of. I feel like people born into the 90s and 2000s whose mothers were, like I said, appropriating culture, right? They have a like for it, but they're not beholden to it, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, because we was in the 90s where everybody was acting like everything was all kumbaya, lying to themselves, engaging in relations, you having children, but not really talking about the racial history that informs that relationship. And the actual societal factors that either help a relationship thrive or fall apart. And there's a lot of narratives around, especially black men and fatherhood, that I think don't help that, right? So instead of understanding why didn't your parents work out, a lot of these children then just believe, well, it didn't work out because my dad is a black man and black men do this, this, and this. While also navigating their own blackness, being raised by a person who doesn't fully understand blackness. And now you get all of this other tension that it's like, bro, go to therapy.
There's that and some of that work, but until it's broken down that a lot of our dads were hard. And the reason why, if it wasn't drugs, if it wasn't crime, then it was the time. Whether they served time, whether they was out here spending time in just different ways, there's a certain hardness that found our fathers. And in some cases, they was like the Hulk, or like the big dude that looking at their child that's like the size of a loaf of bread and feels like, man, if I try to hug my child, I don't want to hurt it, right? Like that kind of and then just the whole aspect of, like in the movie The Hulk, where he don't even want to hug Shorty because he's so afraid of like his own power, his own strength, his own anger, right? And not wanting, and then not even realizing that, like, yo, she love you with all of that. Like that, to me, that was my mom when it came to my pops. 'Cause my pops was like larger than life, and no one was trying to give that man a chance on like damn near anything, right? And it's like the darker you is, you definitely not getting that chance. And everybody, and just how much you got to fight and prove all the time, right? Like, and so even if you do fuck up, even if it's a thing of, the shit don't work out with mom, and then you bounce and you leave. In some people's cases, right? In my case, it wasn't that. My mom gave him an ultimatum. It was like, look, this is the last time you going in. It's like, if you go in again, it's like, I'm taking Dias with me, right? Don't talk about wanting to have more kids and shit. And this is what it's finna be. No, right? And even just, I mean, you've seen, man, how I moved into the house, the DCX house, was almost getting into a fight with my pops, right? Like physical fist fight. This man chasing me down the street.
You forget who was the person who played mediator.
No, facts. Like,
so I didn't forget. Twice.
And it was, man, because for him, he was trying to figure out, like, yo, at the same time, there was a time where he had said, man, that's why y'all light skin, and he had to stop himself. And it was things like that would inform me, but it also caused wedges and rifts at times, right? Because then when I got to see his side of the family, right, wasn't the warmest reception by any means, right? And so it was like, all right, if I go to and then having to understand the why, because me wanting to fit in is similar to Logic wanting to fit in. It's similar to Drake wanting to fit in, but it is not the same, right? And then there's an aspect of it where it's like, all right, y'all looking at dads who are in the street, and it's about that action. Now, my dad and my OGs informed me, hey, don't do no shit that gets you up in the... Don't do no shit that we did, right? Actual people who done... Bip, bip, right? Who done did it, right? And try to inform you, like, look, same dude that if you tested... I think I was alive. Yeah, my dad, he didn't kneecap somebody, but he took my bat. And I was mad because he didn't bring me along with him.
You know my favorite story, so you don't even gotta.
Yeah, because it's like he was.
I'm keenly aware, cause listen, I'll never forget. I went to work. I thought it was gonna be a regular ass day. Dudes was like, "Yeah, man, your people was in here." I said, "What?" Yeah, it got pretty serious too. I thought it was gonna go down. I said, "What?" So what are you talking about? He said, "Yeah, man." I said, "No." I left. I didn't even stay. I just left. I was like, let me go figure out what the hell is going on in the world today.
That was a wild day.
It was a wild day. It was a wild day. It was a wild day. But you know what? At the end of the day, though, I understood that, and this is something that I think a lot of other people who know you never took fully into account, that I keenly observed. You sat at the feet of someone who was prepping you for something you weren't even aware of yet.
I just didn't want to do it. I thank you for that grace, but no, like I didn't want to do it. Like,
nah, I feel you.
I got all the training for it.
It's pressure. It's a different kind of pressure that a lot of people don't understand, which is why when people would challenge your space in the community in front of me, I'd be like, oh, nah, we're not doing that today. Like, that's not the conversation. And I think one thing I used to always say to you as a friend was, you don't got shit to prove, bro. Like, you good. You not fake. You good. But you was like, nah, because, you got that little Irish in you, too. I'd be like, if you don't calm the hell down. That's why when Drake was making short jokes at Kendrick, I was like, that's not the approach, man. Mm-mm. Them dudes is used to that. But all you doing is making him more mad.
The thing is that Drake, he can't make those jokes, but then he ended up making a comment that went the same way of those jokes. It's like when a light-skinned person makes shadow jokes. Right? One thing I've always hated about colorism, and I can 100% say that I've never made any dark-skinned jokes in my life, because it's like I'm literally making fun of my pops. Like, no. And then watching what he's had to go through, right? I've taken on all the light-skinned jokes you could think of. Some of them good, too. Some of them real good, right? Like, so I'm like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that, like on some B-Rabbit shit, right? But like, when he said the thing of oh, you rapping for the slaves, I was like,
yeah. When he said this dude's still rapping like he trying to free the slaves, I said, you're not us. That further informs me. Mm-hmm. You're not us, and that's what Drake fans are missing, is that Kendrick didn't bring out some secret smoking gun. He responded to things Drake has said and done.
I don't think
laid it bare.
I don't think the fans are missing it. I think
they don't want to accept it.
I think they don't want to admit it out loud. I think they have accepted it. The way you say Kanye changed the game. He changed the game when he said that slavery was a choice. And so you have a whole group of folks, a whole generation of folks that been wanting to say that. And I'm not talking about just the white folk that want to say that.
I know you.
Like, I'm talking about the black folk that be like, oh, no, we ain't have to. And this is like, look, if you talking that tough, then I need y'all to start doing some actual gangster shit. And going out shooting folks is not gangster shit, right? Like, I'm talking about do what the mob did. Like, and they came out fly as hell at some point, because they knew it's not just me dressing up. I got to make y'all know that we know how to get down, that we know how to walk into a room and own that room. And that y'all ain't finna just look at us and say, we got to go into the back and wash this shit. You had us have a paper that said WOP on the back of it, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, coming with that same type of, you can't watch American Gangster and then not know how the first act is, where this man's in the Little Italy talking with dude and over coffee. Right, and he's telling them, like, yeah, man, Harlem's not running the same way it used to since Bumpy's gone. Like, this, he's like, I tell you, Frank, like, that conversation, some folks ain't ever had that conversation in real life. In his show. Because it'd be like, okay, you want to talk to, no, you don't come from the state of do the right thing.
No, honestly, I'm with you. I agree. I think the bigger thing is, right, and this is something that, because we talked about Black Panther real briefly earlier too, is when Killmonger dies, he says, bury me at sea with my ancestors who jumped in the ocean.
Another bar. Yeah.
Right? And I was just like, no. Your ancestors didn't jump in the ocean, Killmonger. Because your black ass is here. Like, and that's the part that frustrates me with black people, but also with America, right? And America does this to all people in it. America destroys your sense of history. No matter where you come from, who your people are, the first thing America wants you to do is forget you come from someplace else. You come from a people, you come from sacrifices, you come from good, bad, all of that. Like, and I think that was something that actually connected us as friends, was that we both had a sense of history of who we came from. Mm-hmm. Even if it was just our parents, which for us, it wasn't just our parents. We went back even further, but even understanding who you come from as who your parents are is powerful. And so many people diminish that power from themselves. Right? And when you don't have that thing, that core, that foundation, that's what culture really is, right? And that's something that, like I said, with hip hop being the vehicle for us as blackness, we've lost some of that in how, because like I said, it's Aurora Boreas. We're consuming the culture and creating it at the same time, not realizing how one informs the other. And that's done us a true disservice because of the simple fact that a lot of us don't know what and who we come from until somebody else tells you it, and then you just believe it and accept it. And that's my beef with Kanye, because, and I think for us as a generation, Kanye is one of them things that hurts us deeply, right? I think for a lot of us of a certain age, Kanye was like everything, because he broke the mold, right? Because for a long time, you had to be a thug to be a rapper. If you did not also have that scrap background, like, you could be nice. I've always had a gift for gab. And I'm not going to say I can't use my hands, but I don't like using my hands. Let's put it that way, right? Because I realized I could beat you with my fist, and then you could just go around the corner and get a gun and shoot me. Like, that's the time frame we grew up in. Or you could get a knife and stab me, and I'm dead, right? So it's not even worth it. Right, and that's kind of informed a lot of the pacifism I have, is that I understand how seriously, quickly escalation occurs, especially in the environments we grew up in. Even places
I had the opposite kind of like Ye, though, where it's like, I got trained to scrap, but like, you don't necessarily consider the scraps that you have in the dojo as legit scraps, right?
Yeah, you're safe.
There's a level of safety in which. Yeah, my pops had to tell me that. That's why he took me out of tournaments at some point, because it was like, I'm winning tournaments, but then you get this. For me, a fear developed actually, and then left unchecked, that can turn into something else, where you start looking for the scrap now.
Exactly.
Right, because you're always being tested of like. You can't scrap, and you need this person around you, or this person here is, and there's all these different factors, right? And I feel like for Ye, because what you end up seeing is that we end up taking on different gangster tendencies. until one day it's either in you or it's not. And it's the whole concept of, okay, you're saying you're a lion now, or a lioness.
Come meet the lions.
Not even just that. What we get afraid of, because lions are going to be lions. And for some of us, we cool with if you've been around danger and dangerous folks all your life, that's not phasing you like that, right?
True.
For me, what was the wrestling part was looking yourself in the mirror and you actually seeing danger in your eyes. And you having to accept that. Not you afraid of the danger, right? Because you get to this whole aspect. It's happened to me like after turning 30, right? And then Pop's dying. And then certain dudes was coming around, sniffing around like my mom and them. And that unlocked something. It changed a whole lot where I was like, I will kneecap the shit out of you. Like, I will, right? And it didn't go away. And then you start being like, oh shit, hold up. This is a sliver of what they was walking with, right? Because we know different ways of getting down. And then so we start thinking like, oh, hold on, where's this? And for some folks, it start being a drug, where it's like you start chasing after, I gotta be dangerous. And I had to really start getting a hold of myself when it came to my boss over at the restaurant. He got to a point where he thought I was gonna cause him harm, just standing in my presence, right? Then others in the kitchen would be around me. And my man Fernando, he'd say, "Oidas, I don't like when you don't talk." Like, I was like, what do you mean? It's like, because when you're signing, it's like a rain cloud, right? Like I can feel it, and it just sucks in the energy. Like, and I was like, damn. I was like, my anger ain't like that. He's like, yeah, no, it is.
But that's being a black man in America, though.
And that was the other aspect of it, where I'm just like, I actually started having to tell myself, I was like, yes, what you just said there, where I'm just like, okay, well, shit, if this is what it is, and this is what it is. If you look, if I'm not even doing nothing, because I don't have to come in here and fucking smile for y'all. What this is not a requirement. Now, well, hold up. So now I'm not the same guy. And this is other fellow black folk, right? Mm-hmm. In some cases, the Afro-Latinos, right? Where I'm just around other folk, and I'm like, wait a minute. And it wasn't until I got called Severino, which is like little servant by
he was like, nah, player.
One of the customers is called it. Not them. They ain't say that.
Oh, okay.
But like, I wasn't even being told what it meant, and I really feel like Boss Lady thought I was gonna flip on who had said that to me, and I'm like, no, you haven't seen me argue before. You haven't seen me fight with my words. Like it wasn't gonna matter. But it wasn't until that's what I think we not. It's that dangerous factor. When people started looking at me as I'm intimidating, and I still don't be getting it to this day. I'm 5'7.5", $151 wet, right? And I'm like, can I fight you to the death? Sure, but so could Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. You saw how it ended, like I'm trying to be him in The Irishman. But I ain't trying to be him, like...
Definitely not in Goodfellas or Casino. That was bad.
No, yeah. Like,
real bad.
In both instances, getting popped in the head. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's just like, no, I'm trying to be him when he talking with De Niro. It's like, hey, where'd you learn Italian at? Hey, it's like, oh, just, and having that little quiet killer to you, right? And that's where I be trying to temper it, where it's just like, it's not just pissed off SoulMan anymore. It's like simmer down SoulMan, right? But like, don't let me get to turning the heat up, because I feel like, especially nowadays, if you turn that heat down, they gonna try you. You see this with the old folk. Everywhere which way you go, the old folk, man. There's a black dude from New York that teaches karate that's on YouTube right now. He's like, hey, listen up, right? Like that's his whole thing. And he'll just show you videos of someone that just got mugged or something like that, and he'll show you the move that you're supposed to do to go against it. And but teaching folk, it's good to see that loudness. Like Black New York loudness. People be hating it. I love it. I love it. But I used to be afraid of it coming up at times, right? Because you just, especially when you the soft kid that sounds just be like messing with him. Just like I don't like loud. Whoop 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 whoop. You just having to deal with that. But that's your baseline, right? Just black loudness is like a whole different.
We could do a whole nother hour if we just talked about sound politics. I actually got a professor who does a whole study about the politics of sound. She's actually one of my favorite professors. She interviewed me and my mom because she was doing this thing about hip-hop histories, right? And how so few people acknowledge the role mothers play in early hip-hop. Right, that it was a lot of those dudes' mothers' record collections that they were playing, right? Their mothers' turntables, their mothers helped invest in their talents, it exposed them to, right? And like talking about that, right? And how pivotal they are, or just the role of women in general. Like, there is no hip hop if not for Kool Herc's sister asking him, "Can you DJ my back to school party?" That's pivotal. That's important, right? So, and even when we talk about the sounds, right? This is cold-blooded, but Drake purposefully uses soft sounds, right? He started out very keenly, a soft sounding, which doesn't come across as black, right? Which is a whole nother politics of sound thing. Or even the way in which Kendrick has responded to Drake is blackety black because it's loud, it's boisterous, it's in your face, right? It's all the things we've been told blackness is, simply because blackness has been almost always defined in reaction to this idea of white cordiality. But it's a cordialness that isn't real, right? It's not a cordialness that's really rooted in respect. It's rooted in control, right? Like, it's kind of like the difference when you talk about New Yorkers. New York people aren't nice, but they're kind, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
But niceness is a part of white supremacy and cordiality, that, you know, the person will smile in your face and speak to you very nicely, but they cutting off your lights and kick you out your house.
You're trying to conflate the two things like they're the same. Yeah, no.
Right? I nicely dropped the bomb on your home. Like, nah, fuck out of here. I don't want to hear that. But that the way niceness has been weaponized, right? Or even as black men existing in a space and being told you're intimidating for existing, right? It's not even like I'm ceasing with anger. I'm just silent. I'm not allowing you to know what's in my brain, what my thoughts are. That scares you. That's a deeper thing. But that's also one of the things that had made hip hop so popular and had to be controlled and weaponized so that we end up with an artist like Drake, is that here was a space for in particular black men to fully express themselves in all ways, and then that way being commodified to say this is the only space, this is the only way we want you to express yourself, right? So that the voices then become limited. And Kendrick is kind of one of the few voices that breaks that mold in a similar way to what Kanye did at a time, right? Because when Kanye first came, he was doing something completely different than all the gangsta blinged out people of his time. It's not to say he was completely talking about different things. He was still talking about all the same sex, drugs, women, like, but the ways in which he was talking about it was different. Like, I'm not the thug. I'm really not the guy with the gun and nah, but I do like these things. I'm exposed to these same stimuluses. I'm living in the same American society. Like, it was a lot of critique there. But we were missing was that he was always still the same megalomaniacal, egotistical, crazy person. But we loved him then.
We appreciated his hypocrisy.
Yeah, we appreciated his difference. That Kendrick is similar in that this is a guy who is a thug. Like he's not, he is of these things. He is not making it up, but he's also still talking about being introspective, talking about childhood trauma, talking about growing, because he's not the same guy he was on Section 80.
Mm-hmm.
Now at Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, whereas Drake has tried to be the same person. The only real shift in character, I'd say, is Nothing Was the Same, and that's only because of the success of Good Kid, Mad City.
It remind me of different mob gangster influences. Like when you think of, like Drake is I'd say like Kendrick is showing his Corleone face, right? In the sense of like Vito. And Drake isn't in the Corleone family at all.
Drake is Barzini. He's the one who's going to smile in your face.
Yeah.
Trying to weaponize everything around you.
Thank you for saying the name, because I was trying to remember the dude's name. But like, he don't change at all. Like he's still chasing after the same. Like he's still the same guy in movie 1 and 2 or whatever. Like or of that ilk. That family chasing after the same thread count. And that's all you ever hear him talk about. Like in the beginning when you first met him, it was cool. It was like, I know you about your suits. I know you're about this, and you're about looking nice and fly, and like, oh fuck you, what are you talking about? Like, I know that was you.
I just said thread counts.
That's what he would be on, right? Like just like oh, look at them thread counts. Like, you see this? Like, count this shit. This shit is Egyptian. Like, just that's how he'll approach it. Corleone, he's like, that's cool, but like, we got our own olive oil. We got our own tomato patch. We got
he was trying to build something even greater than himself, because his whole the whole crux of The Godfather that people miss, right? Because everybody got caught up in them being this gangster family, all this stuff, is that this father, each generation was trying to propel the next one forward so that they didn't have to live through the same things, right? Vito's mother risked everything to get him out of Italy after his father made the mistake of upsetting the Don in Italy, right? He killed his brother, all that stuff, to the point where his mother risked her own life, like, yo, I'll kill you right here. Like, because you won't let my son go. First she said, yo, I'll pay you, just let him leave. Well, homie was like, nah, he gotta die. She was like, okay, cool. I will cut your throat right here. Let my son go. And she still didn't make it, but she was willing to die for that, right? Vito got to America, was going to be a regular dude, just living his life, right? Saw the white hand abusing everybody in the neighborhood and said, I can't stand for that. That's how he becomes a criminal. He doesn't really want to be a criminal, right? But him and Clemenza and Tessio, right? They do their little side missions, but they see this dude ain't right. And they take him out and become the heads, right? But he builds a business. He does all these other things. Gets vengeance, because we're not going to just talk over that, right? He went back. He made sure he got them. The dudes who got his mom. I ain't even mad at that.
Yeah.
But when he had kids, his whole mission changed. He was like, I don't want y'all to be gangsters. Unless this is the only other choice you have, I prefer for you to go further than even I went, right? You got to push further. And when you think about Kendrick, right? Kendrick isn't just saying, it's cool, I made it, I got mine. How do I get everybody to the next phase, right? Like, even if you look at TDE, as a person, both of us was on a label that we tried to start as the front people. That requires a lot of energy and effort. And Kendrick has done that very well and still put on the other artists who he came up with and made them better artists. Schoolboy Q, J Rock, Ab Soul, they don't speak ill on Kendrick at all. Right? They have a camaraderie that it's not very common in hip hop. Like, a lot of dudes' cliques aren't as close as they make people believe. Right? And that's something to talk about, because it's not like, oh, we just famous. No, we were able to grow. and have our own thing where half of them not even on TDE no more, right? They have their own things, right? How much money he's put into Compton and his community with zero fanfare, right? The way he's enabled to set things up for not just his immediate family, but his nieces, his nephews, his cousins, right? His kids, his parents. Drake hasn't done that. Drake might buy you a car. Drake might, but they have the audacity to say, you're not charitable. You ain't put on for your city. Stop it. Stop it. Like, stop it. Or even now, people are like, oh, the pop-out had mad rich people. Okay, is that a reflection of Kendrick or a reflection of the actual music business and who can afford tickets to venues? But the simple fact that they actually went through the processing and was checking zip codes to make sure at minimum it was actual people from California and Los Angeles, that's a big deal. Or to even invite the people who he did invite, who are key players in something that runs very deep and is very serious. And them to have love like that, that says more about him than anything else that can be said. So even in that respect, right, he is the antithesis of what Drake is, right? Like it's so many just insane layers of who they are that contradict each other, right? But Kendrick also, and this is why I keep coming back to it, was never about is Drake black or not, right? In terms of what Kendrick is critiquing him on about his culture and what he means to hip-hop culture and the people and the community, he called his son a black man. He went out of his way to make sure Adonis is lighter than everybody. Adonis is passing. He has super light skin and blonde hair right now. That boy, if you saw him on the street, you wouldn't necessarily go, that's a black chop.
That's the caveat I overlooked.
Right?
Yeah.
He went out of his way to address that boy as black. You're a black. You are going to be a black. Kind of like when we've been talking this whole time about our own upbringings, right? And why I said you're not the same as these other people. Somebody instilled in you who you are and a sense of self on both sides. Not even just like, oh, you're this and not this. No, you're both. You come from history on both sides. You have people on both sides. This is what you are.
It was, I would argue, it's
impactful.
When you have, not every biracial kid has the same white parent.
True.
And my mom actually did study anthropology, but then she also didn't get with your average black man. She got she got her Attica black. Right?
Your dad is a whole nother case study in itself.
And like, correct. and really, because of her, we joke about it like she's off white, right? Like, and because she not know she doesn't do.
It's like Larry Bird in Space Jam, where they was like, Larry's not white, he's clear.
Like, so my mom would go with that joke, right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember just how she informed me, and then also like, her being a white feminist, and a white feminist from back in the day type shit that wasn't always trying to snatch the torch out of black women's hands. Like they be doing now. I mean,
it's true. Listen, right? We don't. That's a whole other hour we could be here, man.
Yeah, but she would. I think it's that informing, because when I look at how some of the other folks they white parent is, and they try to like tell them, you know, well, you are black, but you're both. It's like, yeah, like I told my mom, I was like, yo, when folks ask about me, just tell them I'm a black brown kid. Right? They'll understand that. She's like, really, they'll get it? I was like, yes. And it's the fact that you as a white mom are saying black, brown kid, my black, brown child, lets them know that you're informed as well. Right? Mm-hmm. She hasn't come across it like there's not someone with a census form saying, did you have biracial children? What are they? Right? It's not like anything like that. But if they did, I wanted her to be covered. Wanted her to be good. Right? But yeah, we can be here all day, and I did want to try. I've been trying to find a way to, you know, have like a period stopping point.
You already knew what it be.
Huh?
You already knew what it was going to be.
I did.
The two of us together is dangerous.
I was trying to figure out. I was like, damn, how am I going to edit this shit?
It's like the chemicals in Die Hard. Like, it's all right, yo. They gonna have to deal with me. That's it.
Well, at least FD knows that we bout it, right? Because this video is finna be as long as his, right? Like,
nah, you got to cut this down into like parts or something. Like y'all
no,
get
for sure, for sure. I mean, but when I think about it, like his videos, Gary V's videos, these dudes be having 3-4 hour videos, and it's no different than like a video game stream, for real, for real. Where you're playing for 3-4 hours, and then you just bust down those like in the clips, pretty much, and then the clips have their own life, and then the longer form joint has its own life. Because I guarantee there's folks who know us that haven't heard our voices,
and they'll sit through all 4 hours. Oh yeah.
And they'll be doing stuff in the background, whatever like that, and just be listening. Like it's like the Joe Budden podcast, man. We here, right? Like this 3-4 hours, you know. But I can't even say just appreciating the conversation. I appreciate you. I appreciate you always being you in the face of DOS. Right, because like everybody be like feeling like they have to change when they're around me, and I'm like, I'm not y'all dad. What is it? And you just be like, look, man, I love you, brother. I love you, brother. But like, you just gotta chill sometimes, for real. For real. Stop at 5. Stop at 5. You just gotta chill, right? I know you think you Batman. I know my bad. I know you are Batman. Wink, wink. Right? Like, you have you're unapologetically you, and there's no cost of that when you talk to me, right? Like, and that's something that I wish a lot of folks would learn to be, is unapologetically themselves. And maybe that comes from because we know we've apologized to folks before, like, and we see reasons to and whatnot, and you're just a dope human being, man. Like, if KRS had a successor, like, no bullshit, but just fucking with you, like, that's you, man. Like, in the way that, like, you are the teacher. You are the teacher. You are the hip-hop teacher. Like, if you are ever in Pittsburgh, you are talking to my class. Right? I'm making sure that they
but I'm down for it.
You know, they'll have to sign a form saying they're gonna be there for 4 hours, and it's cool. It'd be like, you know, but by the end of it, they're gonna get a whole PhD in hip hop, right? They're gonna have a diploma, right? They're gonna sign up for workforce, right?
Not workforce. Oh snap!
Look, they gonna know what to do with their life. That's what I'm saying. But no, man, it was. I did not expect the conversation to go where it going. I knew it was gonna be us, right? I just didn't know like how much of us, where us is gonna go, right? Like, I only had to put the left blinker on, I think twice. I think twice. Bad. So I'm glad you were just like, look, we're not going down this street, okay? We not.
Sometimes you gotta know when to be like, hey now.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no problem. You know me. I'm the same one when it was fucking flooding. I went outside with the camera, and y'all was just like,
it's a flood, Dadasa. This is not smart. You're like, yeah, but the bridge, and that's exactly where the water is, Dadasa. The bridge. Don't go to the bridge.
But that's the house that I grew up in right there. That's what I grew up in.
Nah, man. Honestly, I appreciate this too, man, because like I said, I feel like I've had 9 lives, and so few people have inserted in certain, like I said, the point where you met me at, right? And me and you met at, I think, a very pivotal point in both our lives, right? We were both coming into our own and really saying, who do I want to be right now as this young adult person and as an artist? And like, I've always thrived in groups, right? So I gotta acknowledge this from my boy Pete, We was like, we're gonna be black and mild. It's gonna be great, phenomenal. Denzel and the rest of the Koyas, right? Like, and then you, like, those have been as the Soul Brothers, right? Like, we had all these. Those have been the people who artistically, personally, have helped me see even more of myself. And in those moments, I really felt like myself, like I had balance. Like the level of trust that you develop, I think, as a performer sometimes, that a lot of people don't fully understand unless they've actually experienced it, right? And like in terms of freestyling, the reason I became such an avid freestyler is because Pete used to want to freestyle all the time. We used to sit in his basement, watch kung fu movies, and freestyle. That was it. And I used to be like, bro, can we do something else? And he'd be like, nah. But he was that kind of diligent, right? And then the Koyas was this like open hodgepodge thing. But then when I met you, I had all those other experiences under my belt. And now I had an engineer type personality, right? The Mr. Spock to go with my Captain Kirk. Because I'm gonna talk a good game, but I ain't really got a plan, y'all. We gonna wing it when we get there, right? Like, I'm gonna wing it. And you be like, nah, I got the plan. Don't worry, we good. Like, I've already checked all the boxes for us, right? Or like when we would go to ciphers and you'd be like, I'm a beatbox, and then you beatbox and I'm killing it, and you'd be like, all right, now I'm a rap, and they'd be like, oh. Or how many times we shut down ciphers. Like, that's you don't meet people like that very often. So for us to be able to go through that period, have our issues and our conflicts, because that's real life, right? We can't act like that didn't happen. And even though those really didn't involve us directly, right, it taught us a lot about just navigating relationships. Right? Because even though we had our fallout, I made sure to be the one to go speak to your parents and let them know, like, yo, it's always been love. I've never had a negative bone in my body towards any of y'all, and I'm never going to, right? And being able to reconnect with your pops, right, when we was doing work out in Binghamton, because of the things he meant to me as a teacher, right? For the short period of time I was able to interact with him, right? And so, like, there's a kindredness in our relationship that we could not talk for years. Like, now it's more like months or days. It's not as bad, but years. But pick up and be like, but that's my brother though. And still build and still bond. When we wrong, yo, you wrong. I'm gonna check you. I disagree, but like, that doesn't come around very often. So I appreciate the flowers. I appreciate you. I appreciate you even reaching out and saying, yo, come be on the show with me, because you asked me a question. Here I was just trying to be low on social media, ask a question, dip out. He was like, nah, come on the show. Alright, right? Like, I don't do that for everybody. I'm not that person. But for you, I'm like, of course.
And I
right?
thank you for that, man.
So, I'm just grateful. We didn't get too crazy today, because we could get real in the weeds on people. They don't know how we really talk.
Yeah.
But
Because I'm glad you used that Spock Kirk analogy, because like, you humanizing me, right? Like, it's just like, you ain't completely Vulcan, devoid of emotion, bruh. Okay. Live long and prosper.
Spock is the OG biracial though.
Facts. Facts. And he's the first white dude to kiss a sister on TV, I think.
Nah, that was Captain Kirk, man. Captain Kirk was taking down everything. Black,
Kirk. Green,
blue, red. That's the only space where you could be like, there's purple people and I gotta let you rock. It's Star Trek.
I mean, left blinker. That was left I was going.
We're not even gonna do it. We're not even gonna do it.
No, it's the more I kept thinking of it, where it was just like, all right, I could do a hip hop episode, and I think people expect that from me to a degree. But like, I'm so like, just because I even teach hip hop, it's like I'm not in hip hop like I was before. Even just me teaching it and being a maestro, it's not the same aspect of it where it's like now I feel like a cultural ambassador that's in a overly white space such as like opera and orchestra and symphonies and trying to establish credibility in a way in which folks aren't even cognizant is being erased and repurposed right before our eyes in a lot of different ways. And so it's like me and my director and I and the other fellow teaching artists, we're trying to figure that out. And him and I, he from Trinidad and Tobago, so he's got his concept of it. Then I'm from here, and I got my concept of it, and we're trying to bridge these things together. So there's like a lot of different ways I could have approached it, but I don't have partners in rhyme that can speak to the synergy that you're talking about, like where it's you on stage. There's only one other cat that can freestyle like you, Jeremiah. He's on the album, right? Where he will have everybody like Woody from Toy Story. There's a snake in my boot, right? Just quivering, right? Just shivering and quivering in their boots, right? Only one other man I've ever met, right? And between him, Shad, Hubs, there's a few cats, and when we get in the cypher, I've seen other folk that was supposed to spit, and they walked out, and then they went over to the side to think about what they was gonna say, and then they came back, right? And they did their thing, and that was their only go. And then the rest of us kept going in the cipher, right? And they might have said something else. It was just like, nope. There's this. I'm appreciative. It's a long ass winded way. It's an old man way. Yeah, I just appreciate you, man, and having this kind of a conversation because it's freeing in a lot of different ways. It makes me feel like I'm not crazy as a black man, right? In this time, right now, am I mad? Am I light skinned mad at Drake and Logic? Of course. And I hope I not only made you proud, but FD and everyone out there who thinks like along the lines of we talking, right?
We heads, we hip hop heads. We gotta accept it that that we think there's no space for us in this community anymore. There will always be space for the hip hop heads. Like, yes, it's a young man's game, but hip hop is 51, y'all. Like, we've gotta come to terms with that we gonna be like the jazz dudes who argue, is it stride piano, is it bebop, is it modern, right?
Yeah,
that's where we're moving towards, where there's a younger generation that has a completely commercialized product that doesn't speak to the thing that we love. And one day they'll either get with it or they'll move on. The ones who get with it, they're going to stay here because, like, it's a shame that we now have acts we grew up on who were legacy acts when we were kids have better stage shows than a 20-something. But that's because they studied their craft. Like, and we can end on this. When we were in DCX, I didn't like to write, but I'd be damned if I put on a bad stage show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to practice. You're going to have a hype man. We're going to know exactly what's the parts you want me to punch in. Where do you usually run out of your breath at? Because if I'm a good teammate to you, I'm learning those things because I'm actively listening to you do your song, right? I want us to have a good vibe and energy on stage. Like, if you can't work a stage, don't dare call yourself an MC. Like, you
Yep.
That's dead to me. Like, and the problem is there's a lot of people now who are studio rappers who don't believe they need to learn the value of their craft as a performer. Like, how many nights did we spend watching hip hop documentaries, watching old performances, watching old concerts, and me like a psychopath telling you, nah, watch how they do this. Nah, watch this. We could take this piece. We could,
and you be rehearsing it downstairs in the living room. Yep.
practice it, right? So that you already knew, all right, when we get on stage, I'm going this way, he's going this way. This is my side of the stage. I have to control and command this side, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not teaching that no more. But that also is because we're not teaching hip hop history. We're not teaching actual history. We've gotten to the point where, like I said, that consumerism, everything has to be boom, 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 boom. That benefits a Drake, right? But at the same time, he doesn't realize that's also your Achilles heel, because you don't have no real foundation and no real leg to stand on. Whereas this other dude was the grinder. he been here. He's been studying.
Drank no water on that show.
he's out here. You made fun of the push-ups. Guess what? That's what made him where he's at now. It's them push-ups. That solitary focus, right? Mm-hmm. Like, or even when we started this and you said, yo, I just love to win. That was always the difference between a you and a me, right? You had that Kobe obsessiveness to it, and I might have had a little more of the Bron, like, natural, I'm good at this. Like, but you put them things together and it's dangerous.
All day.
That's all I'm going to say.
Brother, I love you.
I love you too, man. I mean, this was great. This is a good time.
For sure. And I don't know when we can do it again, but I'm down for it.
You tell me, it's your show. I ain't going to come and hijack your show. I had a radio show. I've been there, done that. You remember, we had a whole rap beef. We let you call in. It got crazy over there. So I'm good. I'm following your lead here.
No, for sure. For sure. And it's been a long time coming, me jumping into this space. But I wanted to, if I was going to do it, I wanted it to be me, and I wanted to do it. I didn't want it to be just because, my pops did the radio station, or, we come from SUNY Bing. Like, it wasn't, like, that's cool. That's cool to have in your roots and your DNA, but it had to be something where I'm wanting to talk. You know what I mean? Like, because we can all talk, but I don't like just talking for the sake of talking. Like, I want there to be a point for it. But on that note, brother, I'm going to catch you. I love you, man.
Love you too. Salam
to you. Salam. Shalom. Peace. Till next time, Jedi.
2 fingers.
However I gotta do it.
I love you, man.
Love you too, bro. My man. Peace. Oh, that's my man. That's my man. If y'all like this episode here, man, make sure y'all leave a like down below. Comment. Show some love to my man, Kymel. It's your man, SoulMan IT. You here on the SoulMan IT podcast. Until next time, y'all. We out. Hopefully I didn't go too hard on Logic and Drake. I mean, that's saying it now 4 hours in. But hopefully y'all understood where I was coming from. It wasn't just hate or anything like that for the sake of doing so. It was making actual points, right? But either way, man, I hope y'all liked the video. Hope y'all liked the conversation. And we're going to do this again, inshallah, in the future. It's your man, SoulMan IT. I'm out for real this time. Peace.